Hello and welcome to this session in which we'll keep working with security assessment, and specifically in this session we're going to look at the evaluator, at the individual, the person, the group that carry on the assessment. We're going to look at the process, and we're going to look at the objectives and the outcome of the process, and we're going to look at the evidence that evaluator uses in the security assessment. So what is basically a security assessment? Well, it's a way for a company to show proof that a company is doing what it says they are doing, especially when it comes to handling and protecting their information. Information means information system. Now, security assessment, this process can be carried by a range of professionals. You can have a system auditor does this, a developer, an assessor, that's what they do, a general inspector, system integrator, or the owner of the system themselves. Now, it's better if a third party, other than the people that are in charge, people that have vested interest in the system, to carry out this security assessment. Why? Think about of an audit. It's better off to bring an outsider. Like when we audit a company, there's an external auditor. Why do we hire an external auditor? Because it's going to give more objectivity, more reliance from third party when they know someone else other than the people at the company carried out the audit. But anyone can carry out a security assessment. And this is what we will discuss in this session. What are the objectives of that security assessment? And we discuss the evidence. Let's go ahead and get started. Before we proceed any further, I have a public announcement about my company, farhatlectures.com. Farhat Accounting Lectures is a supplemental educational tool that's going to help you with your CPA exam preparation as well as your accounting courses. My CPA material is aligned with your CPA review course such as Becker, Roger, Wiley, Gleam, Miles. My accounting courses are aligned with your accounting courses, broken down by chapter and topics. My resources consist of lectures, multiple choice questions, true-false questions, as well as exercises. Go ahead, start your free trial today. What is the objective of the security assessment? Well, it's a formal way, it's a structured way to evaluate and enhance an organization's defense against security and privacy threat, making it essential part of the strategic planning and operational oversight. All what you are doing is you are testing your system, evaluating and enhancing your cybersecurity and privacy threat. For what purpose? Strategic planning. You want to be in good shape. You want to make sure your system is protected, your data is protected, your network is protected. The assessor will utilize framework like those provided by NIST. NIST is the National Institute of Standards and Technology. The assessment is customized to concentrate on specific standard, methodology, and objective crucial for your company's strong security and privacy protection. Because NIST gives you a general overview, and we talked a lot about NIST, and as a CPA candidate, you want to be very familiar with NIST, inside out. Now, what are the outcome of the assessment? You're going to have several outcomes of these assessments, and this is why it's important for a company to carry out those assessments. One is you are going to identify weaknesses in risk management. The process of the assessment will help uncover any gaps or weaknesses in the organization's strategy for managing risk, providing a clear view of where improvements are needed. That's one. Two, you're going to identify specific risks and security that deals with privacy. So beyond the general risk management, the process specifically pinpoints security and privacy weaknesses or flaws within the organization's system and processes. And this follows for a targeted approach in addressing these vulnerabilities. You find them, you will try to now take care of them. Also, the outcome of the assessment, it's going to help you prioritize remedial action. So once risk and deficiencies are identified, what's going to happen is you're going to say, okay, here's four issues. Let me prioritize them. Which one should be first, second, third, and fourth? Why do you want to prioritize them? The one with the most severe and potential impact will be one. You want to deal with it immediately. If it's the high probability of something happening, and there's a good chance if it's happening, the impact will be great, then we'll deal with that immediately. So basically, we prioritize to ensure that resources are allocated efficiently to mitigate the most critical risk, because you might find 10 issues. Well, you're going to have to prioritize them. 4, you're going to support monitoring and authorization. The finding from the assessment contribute to ongoing monitoring effort and informed decision regarding the authorization of the system, ensuring that only secure and compliant systems are operated. It's going to help in this process. It's also going to help us in allocating the funds. The insight gained from the security assessment inform leaders and decision makers on where to invest money to enhance organization security position, ensuring funds are directed toward the most impactful areas, which are identified in the prioritization remedial action. And those are 5 outcomes. You could have more outcome, but those are some common sense outcome for any company. Now, when you carry on the security assessment, well, to carry the security assessment, we have to look at evidence. Let's talk about evidence. So during a security assessment, evaluators, think of the auditor. I just, just to make it easy, gather evidence from a variety of sources to form a comprehensive understanding of the security position. And we're going to look at some evidence. This evidence might include previous assessment of products and system. The first thing we could look at previous assessment. And this is what you do in an audit. You look at the previous audit and see what they did. These are evaluation often conducted by external parties, focus on examining the security feature of the organization product and their configuration. Sometimes that previous assessment could be done by you, and we're going to see that. Such assessment might have been carried out to ensure compliance with regulation or to validate claims made by developer and vendors. Let's take a look at what someone else did. And this will serve as a valuable evidence in supporting the finding in the security assessment report. And that's a great way, a cheap way to kind of, someone else did the work, let's take a look at what they did. For example, some regulator, regulatory agency or a vendor or the vendor of the software, they did their own assessment. Let's take a look at it. You would look at system development documentation, and this would include all records and artifacts generated during the system development lifecycle. When you develop, if you're looking at a software or a process, let's look at the development documentation, this paperwork. It includes design documents, results from testing and code analysis, and interviews with employees involved in the development process. So when they develop the whole process or the software, there's a record of that. Let's take a look at that. This type of evidence is crucial. Notice that it provides insight into the intention, because when you build something, this is where the intention are showing. You're talking to people, why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? It tells you the purpose of this. Intention and action taken by the organization to ensure the security and reliability of their system from the ground up, because you're starting from zero in the system development documentation. Think about building a house. You're looking at the blueprint. You're looking at the original plan. Other type of evidence, record of remediation effort. This is last year they had an assessment. They asked them to fix few things. Let's take a look and see what they did. Documentation of how security weaknesses or breaches were addressed and resolved. And this could reveal a lot. This can reveal the organization responsiveness. Are they taking the security assessment seriously? If they are, they will fix those weaknesses. And the capability to strengthen its defenses following an incident. Also, we would look at incidents report. Well, detailed account of security incidents such as data breaches, including how they occurred, how they were detected and managed. These reports are also important because they will provide also another insight about the vulnerability and about how the company responds to those vulnerabilities, the effectiveness of their incident response protocol. And that tells us a lot about how they take security. And we would look at continuous monitoring result, data from ongoing surveillance of the organization network and system to detect and respond to threats in real time. And this demonstrates the organization commitment to maintaining, because security assessment is a continuous, to maintaining a secured environment and the ability to identify and mitigate risk immediately or on a timely basis. So those are the different evidence we looked at. Now, there's a lot of usefulness for the evidence. Why? Because evidence help assessor evaluate several critical areas. Effectiveness of privacy and security control. By reviewing the operational evidence, assessor can gauge whether the security measures in place effectively protect the organization data and resources. Of course, the evidence is going to show this. For example, If it's an incidents report showing a recurring vulnerability that's not being adequately addressed, it may indicate that the current control are inefficient. It's as simple as that. Now we know the control are inefficient because this incident is reoccurring. Change management practices. Operational evidence can also shed light on how changes to system and operation are managed. Well, effective change management practices ensure that updates or modification do not introduce new vulnerabilities. For instance, if records show a thorough review and testing process before implementing changes, it suggests robust change management protocol. Otherwise, the change management is not being done properly. It's also going to show compliance with relevant policies, regulations, and standards. Documentation from the operational environment can verify adherence to relevant security policies and regulatory requirements. For example, if an organization must comply with the GDPR for data privacy, records of remediation effort and continuous monitoring can demonstrate its commitment to upholding these standards. So the evidence, they could tell us a lot about their security control, privacy control, change management practices, and their compliance with policies. So there's a lot. Now, we have different type of evidence. Not all evidence are equal. We have evidence with limited detail. When the evidence obtained have limited coverage or depth, means, limited detail, they offer a lower level of assurance about the security function that they're supposed to represent. Now, put your auditor hat on. The better the evidence you are provided, the more comfortable you are with the conclusion. Same concept here. If the evidence is of a limited nature, this lack of detailed evidence makes it challenging to fully ascertain the effectiveness and completeness of the security implementation. So if that's the case, what would the auditor have to do? They will have to do more rigorous and comprehensive testing to fill in the gaps. Just like an audit. When the evidence provided is not strong, you have to do more work. This could involve a broader range of tests or more focused examination on specific areas where the evidence is the weakest to ensure a thorough evaluation of the system security. Think about the internal control in an audit. If the internal control of a company is weak, okay, I hope you remember this if you took audit, if it's weak and you cannot rely on it, like, evidence with limited details, you have to do more testing of details. You have to do more audit work. This is how it works. So if you cannot rely on the internal control, you do more audit. If the evidence is not comprehensive and in-depth, you have to do more testing. On the other hand, highly detailed evidence, when the evidence provided is rich in detail and cover a wide range of security aspects, it could reduce the need for extensive testing. So let's compare that to an audit. If your internal control for a company are strong, then the auditor will need to do less testing, less work, because they can rely on the internal control. Same concept. Detailed evidence gives assessor a clearer, more comprehensive view of how security functions are implemented and operated. For example, a comprehensive documentation of a network encryption protocol, including configuration settings, version histories, and incident response records, can offer strong assurance that these protocols are correctly and effectively implemented. Therefore, we have to do less testing of the network encryption. In such cases, the evidence itself can serve as a strong indicators of the robustness of the system component, allowing for a more streamlined assessment process. Let's talk about the level of evidence. Just if you want to summarize, the level of detail in the evidence directly impact how security assessments are conducted. Just like an audit. More detailed evidence can streamline the assessment process by providing clearer insight into the security position, while less detailed evidence necessitates more in-depth. So if the evidence provided not in depth, not in detail, we have to do more work. If it's in depth and in detail, we have to do less work. The relationship underscores the importance of thorough documentation and record keeping, because documentation and record keeping, they are related to more detailed evidence in maintaining and demonstrating an organization's security capability. So you want to know all about evidence, the quality of the evidence, the level of the evidence, the usefulness of the evidence when it comes to security assessment. Let's take a look at this multiple choice question from farhatlectures.com. During a security assessment, it was found that a company's firewall was configured to allow some unnecessary ports open, potentially exposing the network to an unauthorized access. What rating is this finding likely to receive. We have two ratings. We have S, which is satisfactory, and O, other than satisfactory, or other than satisfied. Okay, so would we give a satisfied as firewall is actively in use? Do we give a satisfied grade because the firewall is in use? Well, but we have, it allows some unnecessary port. I would hold on that. I'm not going to give satisfied because this is unnecessary port, could be an entry point for attackers. So I'm going to take out A for now. B, other than satisfied because the unnecessary open port. That's a good answer. Let's see what's the other one. C, satisfied if the open port are monitored for suspicious activity. No, you're just, I'm not going to give you satisfied then, waste time monitoring suspicious activity. I'm supposed to close the port. Again, it's not satisfied, so we can eliminate satisfied. O, only if the breach has occurred as a result. So I'm going to give only other than satisfied, which is an O grade, only if a breach has occurred. No, you don't wait until the breach happened to give other than satisfied. The whole purpose of security assessment is to be proactive, to figure out what's wrong and eliminate that weakness, eliminate that vulnerability. Therefore, D is out. I'm going to give other than satisfied, and in the report I'm going to put down, close that port. Unnecessary, this is other than satisfied, in the following year or the following period, go back and see what they did. So the answer is B as in boy. What should you do now? You want to go to Farhat Lectures, look at additional MCQs. That's going to help you whether you're studying for your CPA exam, professional certification, or any other course. Invest in yourself. Good luck. Study hard, and of course, stay safe.